hard for us to remember when we were simply a soul, hanging out in the universe, enjoying our experience, looking down at this planet Earth. And perhaps we would wonder, what would it be like to just slide down through time and space and the density of matter and arrive on this physical, vibrantly beautiful planet filled with light and color and sound and water and sunshine and all of these adventures wide open for us to experience in the physical form. Each of us guiding one another and walking side by side in community. What would that journey be like? Welcome to healing our souls. Good morning and welcome to Healing Our Souls. It is good to be with you today. It has been an interesting couple of weeks here in the States, and I'm sure for those watching around the world. And it seems like there is an activation that so many of us are seeing. You know, people are waking up, are expressing their voices in new ways, are saying that they need to listen more or act more or take a stand on issues that are important to them. And for that, it's amazing, right? It's amazing to see what our new President Trump is bringing into this country at this time and activating around the world. And so what I wanted to talk about today are gifts. You know, each of us, I believe, has something unique and special that we bring to the world. And when we decide to be a soul in this human body, we have a purpose. We come here for something significant. And our value here is by existing and bringing those things forward. So maybe it's one thing, maybe it's many things, but to me this time, this moment in history is so much about activating on a large scale lots of people stepping into their gifts. And we're looking for tools and resources, you know, as we do that. So instead of having a guest today, what I thought I would do is share a little of my story and how I have stepped into my gifts and what that journey could look like. I think we learn best from examples and real stories and real people, because real people make mistakes and they take circular routes to get to the place that they're trying to get to, and it doesn't look like it makes sense in the moment, but it's always, you know, taking us forward and creating more of us. So I thought I would share mine and you know, give you some insight into perhaps ways that you match that, or ways that it can inspire you to take more action and step further into your gifts right now. So where do I start? You know, it's funny, I've thought about this so many times, like, how do I even describe my journey? I guess I'll start at the beginning. So I've always studied people from a very young age. I am a middle child, so I was negotiating and settling disputes and keeping the peace. We lived in several places as I was growing up. We moved a lot, and so I was always being introduced into new schools, new crowds of people, new neighborhoods. When I was 11, we moved from South Africa over to the United States, and so I had this cultural shift to navigate also. You know, if you don't know the culture and you step into a new place, there's that time and process to understand, to observe, to look for similarities, look for differences, and then find your place in all of that. And so much of my journey in my life has been about group dynamics, organizational structures, how people interact and what makes them tick and what motivates them. You know, I have this ability, this gift to see people and understand what their potential is and hold them to that potential. And that comes from lots of observation, lots of listening, and you know, getting to know people on deeper levels, which, you know, is a learned skill. It's a learned skill, and it's one that I did in life, you know, living life. For a long time, I thought that was a bad thing that we moved a lot, or was I wounded, or were there scars from that? And the more clearing and energy work that I do, the more certain I am that every single move mattered, and every new experience expanded me, who I am, what I bring to this world. And so we moved a lot. When we got to the States, we lived in Dayton for a while, and then we moved down to Cincinnati. And high school, navigating high school when you're the new kid, it was interesting, but also such an enriching experience for me. So when I went away to college, my decision was international management, international business. I'm going to study cultures, and I'm going to have a big business, maybe running hotels and hosting people and welcoming people into my hotel. And so I took a lot of classes on international sales, but also the dynamics between countries, between people, interpersonal communication classes. I majored in Spanish and did international sociology classes, the ways, the stories, the weavings of time through all of these different places. And then I took all the business classes, the organizational structure, the rigid, rigid maybe isn't the right word, but the very formal ways of seeing how people work and interact together. A lot of psychology classes looking at the woundings and the places where people get stuck in patterns and trapped. And all of it was teaching me at the time, not for the purpose I thought it would be for, like international business, but for coaching, this work that I do now. So I studied abroad for a semester in Costa Rica, and had this contrast from the American culture of busy, 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 big, achieve, success, to this really slow pace of life. The mantra in Costa Rica is pura vida, pure life, live life, like be present, be in the moment. They're so warm and welcoming, and it was just such an incredible contrast for me to see, the two cultures side by side. And then I started my career. So I did international business, I did sales management, I worked for nonprofits, doing research and grant writing and fundraising. I worked for a conflict resolution nonprofit that teaches you how to resolve issues peacefully, how to bring communities together and find ways for them to harmonize, to bring their gifts and their strengths, and then appreciate their differences. I watched these incredible trainers with all of these tools and resources shifting the energy in rooms by bringing everyone's vibration down to a place of calm and steady and collaboration, cooperation. It's been amazing. And then I had children. And any parent would know, when you have children, it brings up all of your wounds, all of your beliefs, and tears them all apart, and then parenting helps you redefine who you want to be, how you want to act, the way you want to model yourself and live in the life that you're creating. And so my children have been my greatest teachers. And then I got divorced, and my ex-husband is still one of my greatest teachers. The dynamics of deconstructing and then rebuilding relationships, when it's at a personal level through a divorce, it teaches you in ways that no class can, or books, no books can teach you the lessons that you learn in these situations. And so over all of this time, what I have found for myself is this really steady trust in love, in honesty, in holding space for people to be the fullest potential of themselves, to find their strengths and then bring those strengths into the communities and up-level the communities through that. And that is definitely one of my gifts, is this ability to hold that space of love for people, to help them find a vibration that can match that, so that they raise their vibration also, and they let go of the stories and the wounds and the beliefs that they're limited, and they can step up into more empowering lives, which is really why all of us are here. Every soul, I believe, comes here to play with emotions and to play with love and fear, to find contrast, and then pick those things that we enjoy more and create lives based on that, based on the vibrations that feel best to us. So over time, I've found like my rhythm, my way of connecting with people and communicating what I believe. And so over this past year, as I've started my own business, I've been playing with how do I simplify all that I've learned? How do I take all of the structures and the processes and the systems that I've studied, that I've read books about, that I've practiced, in my coaching, and how do I find the unique expression of that is my way of how I see it? Because if I see it that way, there are others who would resonate with seeing it that way too. And so I started with meditation. Meditation brings your energy into your body, and it lets you get really still and quiet. And it becomes a practice where you can tune out, all the other voices, all the noise in life, and get so still that you can hear what your soul wants to say. You can hear what your heart wants to share with the world, and then creation can happen in meditation space. You come up with ideas, you connect the pieces, you find all the ways where your life has been teaching you all these different things, and you weave it together. And meditation, or some people call it prayer, your meditation might be walking, or doing yoga, maybe it's swimming laps. It's wherever you find that quiet space where you can tune in and hear, what wants to be said from inside of you. And so meditation became the first of the tools that I really claimed as this gift I have to share with the world, this unique way of taking all that I have learned and then coming from my heart and bringing it out to people, sharing it with others. And those that it resonates with will find it, right? Vibrations find matching vibrations. Like attracts like. And so the steadiness and the space that I hold through meditation attracts towards it those people who are ready to settle in, to find their own voice. And guided meditation, the way that I do it, is showing a process that you can follow, but you have your own experience. It's not me imposing what I believe into your space. It's me holding this process and guiding you in so you can hear what your soul wants to say. You can hear the places where you need to cry or get angry or celebrate, celebrate the joy of life. You feel all of that when you meditate. And so meditation was the first of these gifts that I brought forward. Purifying breath is the one that touches my heart the most. I try not to cry, but it's the most beautiful meditation that I have made. It was on my birthday this year. This is a year of completion for me because I'm 45. 4 plus 5 equals 9. It's 2016, which adds up to 9. My birth date is 1/26, which adds up to 9. All of these 9s, like this year, is about completing old patterns, completing old stories, and then just letting them go, letting them dissolve. And on my birthday, I recorded Purifying Breath, and it was the most beautiful expression from my heart of empowering people to breathe in a new way, teaching through meditation. Connect back in with your breath. Like, let breath guide you through and release fear, release anger, release judgment, Like all of these emotions that get stuck and blocked in our bodies, breath can move that through and out. And that meditation, when I made it, just created a pathway for a lot of emotion to move. And it is for sure one of the gifts that my soul agreed I would bring forward for me, for whoever resonates with it. I would bring it forward, and that would be one of the things I would leave here in this world after I transition. And so, yeah, meditation. And then I started this group meditation process in April that I have just rebranded, and I'm now calling Vibin. And it's Vibin with the pulse of the universe. There is a rhythm to life. There's a heartbeat that the earth has. There's a pulse that the universe is constantly vibrating, and everything is a vibration. Everything matches that pulse of the universe. And when we get out of alignment here in earth, when we get busy and get wrapped up in our heads, we forget that there's this slower, natural rhythm to life. We think we get to control life. We think we get to run the show. And our minds can make all of this stuff keep us distracted. And so Vibing with the pulse of the universe, it's this space I hold on Sundays where we all gather on the phone. Everyone just calls in, the lines are muted, and we just settle in. We settle in and we feel whatever is needing to be felt for that week. So over the last 2 weeks, we have been feeling the emotions that come up, from the elections, and then also create a space to let the emotions move out, and then to find that still, quiet, empowered space in the center of you. And because it's on mute, it's like you're having your own clearing, your own energy release. Just with me guiding, you get to have your own experience. And so this space on Sundays is, I don't know of another space like it. It is empowered and peaceful. It's consistent. There are, these steps that we go through that feel familiar, so you can fall into the routine of it, but then also experience what you need to in the moment. And the moment's always changing, so what you need this week will be very different than what you might need to clear next week. So that has been one of my other gifts to bring forward. If you had told me in college that I would lead meditations, I would have laughed. I didn't even know what meditation was in college. I'd never even heard of it, but everything I learned in college has prepared me for the work I do now. Everything I learned in all of my jobs has brought me to this moment where I have all of my tools and resources inside of me, and I can share them. I can just bring them forward. And I'm sharing all of this so you can find that in yourself too. You can find the ways things weave together, the tying of all the pieces into a fabric that is uniquely yours. Uniquely yours. And if you didn't share that with the world in some way at some time, the world would be less. It would be less. So, yeah, that brings me to the latest gift that I am bringing forward, the one that I have been sitting with for about 4 or 5 months. Just a backstory, when I was in college and through all of my jobs, I studied the Myers-Briggs test, which tries to identify your gifts, your strengths, your weaknesses, and bring it all together. And so you have the ENFJ is mine, ENFJ label, right? And then it describes who you are and what you are like. I studied astrology. I'm an Aquarius, and we're now in the time of Aquarius, right? I've studied Enneagram and numerology and the Strengths Finders. When I was working for the construction company, we did all this work on Strengths Finders. What are the gifts that you bring forward to the community? 5 love languages. There are all these ways that people type and identify and create connections so that they can understand who they are in relationship to other people. And I've played with all different ones. Barbara Brennan has done a lot of work with the research based on Carl Jung's research about the psychology of people and the classifications of when we were younger, how do we get wounded, and at what age, and then how does that impact us in the rest of our lives. And taking all of these pieces together, there was still something that didn't quite gel for me. It didn't tie together, and all of the time I spent in meditation and client calls and sitting with my friends and my family, what I have formed or allowed to be created through my heart is this idea, this offering of soul filters. And there's a lot of videos and content that you can read on my website and in my YouTube channel about it. But what it feels like to me is, going further back in time than just being the human. As a human, it's easy to see where we're wounded or where we have some gifts and some strengths, but it's through this filter of density. Like, the human world is really dense and heavy, and what I kept feeling is, if we could go further back, if we could look at life from when we were souls, when we decided to come and be humans, what sort of types or templates or filters would we have thought of or used to guide our human experience, to guide this journey as a human. And so I was outside when it first started coming through, just one night, just looking like out at the stars and thinking, if I were a soul, if I were sitting in the universe, what frame of reference would I have that I could apply into some sort of physical human body? Like, how would you even make the connection between soul and human? They're so contrasting. And I was just thinking of the basic cosmic energies or cosmic bodies, the moon, the stars, the rings around the planets, the collection of stars, the constellations. Those are universal energies or matter, forms of matter that are tangible, that we could understand. Scientists have been trying to make sense of stars and planets and try to logic it all out and put some structure around it, but there's still these mysterious things. Planet Earth, it's this mysterious energy that does things that we can't control. It's a mix of spiritual and matter. And so this idea of soul filters took form. The star filter. If I was a soul and I put on the filter of a star, what would my human experience look like? Well, I would be brilliant. I would have this light to shine. I would know and see things from up above that, guide people. I would bring light, into the world. And so if a soul puts this filter on of a star and comes down to earth, he or she would know, this is what I'm going to bring as my gift. This is what I'm going to offer to the world. But what happens when you put a filter over a soul that is so brilliant? It hides the brilliance. It allows it to become dense. So when we're walking here on earth as the soul with the star filter, we forget. We're shrouded. We're veiled. We forget that we're brilliant. And so we struggle. And we get scared. And the world feels scary and hostile. And there's aggression. And, we don't want to share our light. And so this contrasting experience of physical and spiritual is what the human journey is all about. And so the soul that is the star filter gets to play with brilliance, play with hiding, play with knowing you have a gift, and play with being scared to share it because people might be mean. It's this journey that we start to take. And so there are 5 of the soul filters: the star, the moon, the planet, the Orion, which is the constellation of stars, and then the rings. And there's a lot of information. I won't go into all of it here, but I made this soul filter story when I was with a friend of mine one night. We were just hanging out, and I did it like a bedtime story, and it was just magical, right? Like, you can't manufacture or create something that is just love flowing through you. It just moves through you, and magic gets created. And I made this story, and at the end I looked at her, I was like, I didn't even know that that was in me. I didn't even realize that that was a story until I just shared it with you. And it's like so beautiful and my truth, and it's so exciting to share this gift in this way. And so soul filters started to take on form, and I have spent much of the summer and the fall, sitting with it and struggling and putting the pieces together. And what I really wanted to bring forward is this idea, this concept of it. But then, what do you do? What do you do when you know that you're an Orion, right? So I'm a primary Orion filter, secondary moon. What does that mean? Like, okay, so I know that, but what do I do with it? And so I put together this resource site. It's taken several months to do. And it's just this collection of all of the spiritual tools and science and, books and music. It's like all those things that have guided me in my path. I picked the pieces that match each of those filters. And I created a resource space, a workshop area where you can go and you can find music for the Orion filter. These are the chants that have activated awakenings in me. These are the songs that heal the shadows and allow me to see the potential again. These are the songs that remind me who I am, and there's music for each of the filters that's unique for them. I made a guided meditation for each filter. If you're an Orion filter, well, let's do planet. If you're a planet filter, for example, the planet stays in its orbit and it goes around in the way that it knows how to go, and it likes routine and it likes consistency, and they're here for a mission, but sometimes they forget they have a mission and they get stuck in the density just like all other human souls. And so the planet filter, when they meditate, when someone with that template or structure energetically meditates, it looks very different than how a ring would meditate or how a star would meditate. And so I created a guided meditation for each of the filters that brings you into a quiet space in a way that your soul can fall into, that your soul can resonate with. And then I've started doing Kundalini yoga, so we do mudras, which are, hand positions, and the hand connects directly to the brain and to the energy center. So when you hold your hands in certain positions, you're rewiring your brain. So there are mudras specifically for each of the soul filters, mantras, ways that you can affirm yourself and rewire those old beliefs, by saying things that empower you. What else? Oh, there's so much. There's just so much good information in there. And so each resource page is uniquely designed for that soul filter. And it's this blend of everything I've been studying and learning and gathered in my own life experiences, just wrapped up as a little gift, a beautiful gift for each person to unwrap at their own time and their own pace. It's one of the reasons I'm here on this earth, is to bring these tools that empower people to hold space so that people can find their way into their own gifts. And then when you find it yourself, you know it. You know it. You don't need someone to prove it to you or confirm it for you or tell you that it's right or wrong. Like, when they're your gifts and you own them, then you're ready to share them. You're ready to bring them forward. So those are some of my gifts. There are, I'm sure, many more coming, but they come from a really calm, still place inside of my heart and my soul. And that's what I most would want for anyone who watches, this video, is to know that you can have that too, to know that you can create that same life, that is lived from love and truth and a knowing of who you are. Yeah, so that's my story. It has a happy ending. I am very happily married to a beautiful love. And I have two beautiful children who constantly amaze me and teach me. I'm doing work that thrills me, that inspires me, that fills my heart with more and more love. There is this way that everything starts to tie together and come into harmony. And as I watch, so many activations happening right now, and so many people, really tuning into their alignment with what's going on, or their dissatisfaction with what's going on, or their frustration, or their grief, all of these activations that are happening at this time on this planet, there's a way that is perfect, and that it's exactly where you need to be and what you need to be feeling. So trust the process. Allow yourself space to find the tools and the resources that are going to help you activate your own gifts in bigger and bigger ways, because that's what our world needs. Yeah, we need more love, and we need more people being loved and sharing their gifts. So I encourage you, if you haven't looked at the Soul Filters story or listened to it, gift yourself with 15 minutes and cuddle up on the couch and turn it on, and just see what resonates with you. There's a knowing that you'll feel when you hear your soul filter described. It might be a little fear of, oh God, like, she makes it sound really brilliant and big, and maybe I'm not that, but could I be? Could I actually be that thing that she's describing? Yes. If it resonates with you, it's like vibration attracting to like vibration. So trust it, and just explore the whole idea. See how it feels to you. And if you're ready to practice meditation, join the Vibe and calls. Come into this community with other people who are, so seeking truth and love and community. It's not a hard process. I guide you through it. So try it out. All right. That is my message for this week. Have a beautiful weekend. Create some time and space, and be still and be good to yourself. So much love to you.